Hi, welcome to Building an Application Security Program. And we're in section 1 on application security, and this is module 101, where we're going to look at why do we need application security. I'm Shane in Sweden, and in this series of videos, we're looking at how you go about building an AppSec program for your organization. But before you start building an AppSec program, you and your organization need to know why you are doing this at all. You're going to have to put in a lot of effort. It's a big question about whether or not it's worth it. Are there any reasons why you shouldn't have an application security program in your organization? You also need to think about, well, even if you do want to have an AppSec program, what are the potential problems that it will cause or that will arise? These are very important questions because there will be people who will need to be convinced that this effort is worthwhile. In fact, some of these concerns will actually be valid. But valid or not, you will have to have an answer to all objections if you want to get sufficient political buy-in at the right levels to make your program work. In this first part, part 1, we're going to look at the typical reservations and concerns and objections that are often raised when an AppSec program is introduced or discussed. And in part 2, we're going to just jump to the main objection. And spoiler alert, it has to do with cost, and explain why your organization really can't afford to not have an application security program. So it's a two-parter. First part, all the objections. Second part, why cost isn't really the issue you think it is. So let's get down to it. Does AppSec even matter? Why do we need it? This is Erica.
Hello.
And Erica is presenting her proposal for a new AppSec program to the board. And she gives a wonderful presentation on what needs to be done, how much it will cost, the resources that are necessary, the time frames, the expense, and so on. And she finishes her presentation with the point that we really need to get on top of this stuff because it's really important. Right. But is it really important? Is it really? Well, unfortunately, one answer to that question could well be no. It's not a priority. Or perhaps, well, it does matter, a bit, possibly. But, the board's looked at this before, and we have lots of reasons for not implementing an AppSec program. So it's not that we don't want to do it, it's just that it's a very low priority at the moment. Okay. And in fact, there are difficulties with introducing an application security program into an organization, and people can have fairly valid reasons for not looking forward to what you're suggesting. Okay, and we need to have an answer to these. And these reasons can include just simply that it costs too much, right? Or, well, even if we had the money, this is just too difficult. Okay, you have to have super hacker ninjas, and we've discovered that it's just impossible to find them. We can't do this, it's beyond us. Another complaint is that it's disruptive. It causes problems. Perhaps they've tried something like this before. People complained it wasn't popular. Or another reason is that it slows us down. The companies think about time to market. We've got to be flexible. We've got to be agile. If we do all this, we're dead in the water. We're going to be obsolete. Do you think our competition bothers with this sort of stuff? Or alternatively, they may think, well, actually, we understand that some companies need application security, but we're not that kind of company. We're not a bank. We're not doing retail online. We're just a small company. Nobody's really interested in us. And honestly, we haven't had any problems so far, so we don't really see this as a problem for us. Now, you will no doubt encounter all these reasons, questions at some point or other, so it's good for us to just look at them a bit more in detail. Okay, so this reason, application security is expensive. It costs us too much money. And unfortunately, this is correct. Application security is expensive. Security professionals are expensive, and they're hard to find. And it's not just the people either. The security tools, once you've got your people in place, they need to use software and tools to do their job. And these tools are also expensive. You can easily spend tens of thousands of dollars, or perhaps even hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on the size of your company, on security software and security tools. And this is money that you could invest elsewhere. So you may hear that it's too expensive, or you may possibly hear that they would like to do AppSec, application security program, but they just can't afford it right now. It's too expensive. It hasn't been a good financial year, maybe in the future. Or alternatively, the company is too small, or again, possibly even that the company is too big. So these are all complaints you will hear. Okay, and on top of it costing money, There is the complaint that application security is too difficult. And unfortunately, this is also a valid statement. Application security is difficult. Don't kid yourself that getting an AppSec program up and running will be easy. Security in general is tricky, and you should be prepared for the fact that you will make mistakes along the way. So why is AppSec difficult? Well, it's technically challenging. The attack surfaces are changing, the threats are evolving, new problems occur all the time. Okay? Problems which you thought were solved resurface in later years as a result of changing circumstances. It's not only technically challenging, it's also politically challenging. A large part of any AppSec program is communication and negotiation with people inside your organization and also people external to your organization. For an AppSec program to work, it needs everyone's support, particularly the management, the top end, and even the dev teams on the front line. Everybody needs to buy into the idea that AppSec is worthwhile. This also adds an extra aspect to the difficulty of finding good AppSec people, because a great AppSec specialist is not only technically competent in both the security and development knowledge domains, they will also have good people skills and be good at communicating. Finally, there's another problem area for us, we who work in application security. In AppSec, it's often difficult to know if you are actually succeeding. Security is notoriously hard to measure. And in fact, we will have a specific discussion in a later episode on metrics. But generally, a company needs to know, are we getting better or are we getting worse? When we bought that last tool or hired that new person to work with application security, what was the effect? Nothing comes for free, and management will want to know they are getting a specific and measurable improvement for their investment. Generally, we need to be able to report where we are in somewhat simple terms. Like, for example, do we have one gold star in security just now? Are applications one gold star good or three gold stars good? And out of how many stars is that exactly? The political, the technical, the reporting, the measurement, all of these things add to the complexity and difficulty of running an AppSec program. So your management has good reasons to be wary. This is perhaps the most common and most persistent complaint you will see about application security, that it slows us down. Application security often has a reputation of being a blocker rather than an enabler in a software development process.
Computer says no.
Remember, dev teams are often under pressure to constantly deliver new features, and if they don't see the value in application security, they won't want to waste their time on it. At the same time, we live in an agile world, and dev teams are often trying to get more control and take more responsibility over the whole of their release process. The last thing they need is an individual or a group of individuals that they have to come to seek approval from every time they have a small decision to make on a change. Same may be true for managers and product owners who will not be glad if they have to introduce another layer of administration with security checklists and security controls that they have to make sure everything's been dotted and crossed before they can carry on with their release of new features. So for both these groups, application security might seem as a hinder. It may be something that slows them down. It's bureaucratic and uninteresting. So should we wash our hands and just walk away? No, we have to show them the value of what we can bring to the table with our application security program. So Erica needs specific answers to all these questions so that when she presents to the board, she can meet all their arguments and hopefully get an approval for introducing application security to the organization. Now, the answers to all these questions we will be looking at in different videos and different episodes. But since money talks, and start in the very next video by explaining why it might be very expensive not to have an application security program. And we're going to look at some general principles, but also a lot of specific examples from the real world. So I hope I will see you there.